Blog Talk Radio. Hello, everyone. I want to welcome all of you to Ohio Exopolitics. I'm your host, Mark Snyder. We're having a completely unscripted discussion this evening with a friend of mine, a new friend, Dubhaltagh, if I pronounce his name correctly. And let me see if I can drag him into the show now. Hopefully he's getting the Skype call. Welcome to the show, Dubhaltagh.
Hey, Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you're very welcome, and we were having a unscripted discussion about the Meier material, and for some reason, lately, I really like doing these unscripted shows where we just kind of go with the flow and go step by step and see where it all leads us.
Yeah, I think when you go with the flow, as you say, sometimes you get some of your best radio.
I wanted to read something, and this is from the book The Psyche, and it talks about the swinging wave. Electromagnetic swinging waves in the teaching of the Spirit are periodically built up electric and magnetic fields which are not bound to any matter but nonetheless include energies and unfold forces which can be of immense might. And I think that we were talking about the might of the thoughts. Mm-hmm. Now you have the book, right? The Might of the Thoughts?
I do. I bought that from Michael Horn's website last year. I've only got through maybe 1/10 of the book, and it's one of those books, much like The Psyche. You read a paragraph, and that's usually enough to keep you going for the rest of the night. You know, you just
exactly. As I was telling you when we were talking before, I read the first 12 or 15 pages, more than a dozen times, I'm sure, and I could probably go back over it again and again and again. But that's the nature of these books.
Yeah.
They're just so phenomenal, and they're so profound.
They're the expression "food for thought" would be a good expression there. I think it's there's a lot of food for thought in those books.
It's interesting too because you can read sections. At least I do. I read them over many, many times before they really start to before I really start to really get a clear picture of what they mean. And what's also very interesting is starting to connect these dots, mm-hmm. because things that are in this book correspond to things in the Goblet of Truth and also correspond to things in the contact notes. But I find that Billy's writings are of a different character, mm-hmm. than the contact notes, because the sentence structure is so profound, and it's almost like every word is important. And you have to just read one of his books to really appreciate that. You know, in my pondering over the past week, I really think he's the wisest man on the earth right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably has been in each one of his incarnations.
I would agree with you. One of the things that I love about reading Billy's, work is, when you think of what Billy has been called a prophet, and whenever you think about somebody as being a prophet, maybe we tie that to religion, but this goes beyond that. It has nothing to do with religion at all, as you well know. But it almost seems a little bit out there, but it's very much grounded here on Earth. And when you read Billy's work, you start to realize, God, this is just a human being, but yet at the same time, he is far beyond, what we might understand, in terms of his knowledge and understanding of the universe and all these things. But when you read through his work, it's very human, and whenever you look at the bottom and you see signed his name, sometimes I'm shocked, to be honest with you, because it just seems so like you're talking to a friend, it's like you're talking to somebody that you know. But then whenever you get into the Might of Thoughts and the Psyche and these other books that he has, you start to realize, God, this man is, he's really, like you said, probably one of the wisest people we have here.
That's so true. That's so true. I was, while you were describing that, I was going back to 4 or 5, 6 years ago. I lose track of time so easily. It's probably been a lot longer than that. I can't keep track of it all. But when I was first listening to Randy Winters, have you ever listened to Randy Winters?
I listen to Randy Winters quite often, actually, yeah.
Well, he was the guy that I started out listening to, and he would say things that probably come straight from the Meier material, and it would be so profound, and it would resonate with me with such an intensity that it would be a bit frightening.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to stop listening to him for a while.
Yeah.
And then I would sneak back in a week or two or a few days and listen some more, and I would kind of have this spellbound experience again, and then I had to turn it off because I couldn't quite handle it. It was too much.
Yeah, and that's the effect. I think anything that Randy has brought forward has come, the stuff that I follow anyway has come from Billy Meier, and Randy Winters has relayed that material, I don't think he's always relayed it in the most precise way, but he's done it, I have to say he's done a good job. But just like you said, sometimes you're reading through this stuff, or like myself, I'm driving to work and I'm listening to his he had a cassette series there that he released, and it's on YouTube, and I'll just sit and listen to that driving to work, and it just, like you said, sometimes you have to turn it off and go, wow, it's just amazing.
And I do that sometimes when I'm driving to work as well. I have a pretty long drive, and I'll even go over things that I've learned and just think about them, and sometimes even say them out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting the way different things connect is what I'm finding. And things that are in my mind and in my memory, and I don't even realize that they're there.
Yeah.
Particularly some information that's in the book, The OM. I don't know if you've been fortunate enough to look at that book yet.
I haven't. Has that been translated into English?
I got an English copy, and I think I got that from Larry Driscoll. I think he was the one that gave it to me.
Okay.
And that information is just, it resonates with me more and more and more the more I read it. And, it's interesting because what happens with me when I'm studying the Meier material is one contact like the one I just played, my Contact 115, it's 3 hours long when you convert it into MP3. But there'll be like a section, like 10 lines or something, that is so fascinating. I just have to read it again and again and again and again, because it's like this whole, it's like an opening into a whole nother world of understanding.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had that experience yet.
No, I absolutely have, and whenever you're going through your daily life and all the anxieties that come with living your life and driving to work, and all these different things, it's those moments whenever you get into those books, the Om, the Might of Thoughts, the Psyche, and you spend those few minutes, or you spend that time reading through, those paragraphs, that it all makes it worthwhile. It makes you realize, hey, this world is so much more beautiful than we,
It's so profoundly beautiful.
Yeah, and there's so much out there to learn. It's just that's what makes it all so exciting for me. I've never come across so much an abundance of material that is just every time you read something, it's just enlightening. It's just fantastic.
I'm going to pull up my Billy Meier page. I wanted to go to the Book of OM. This is where I keep some of my notes.
Tell me the name of that website again, Mark.
Exopoliticsohio.us, www.exopoliticsohio.us. If you Google Ohio Exopolitics, you'll find the website. The URL is too hard to remember.
I have it here. Yeah, okay.
And then there's a picture of Billy on the front page, and you can click that picture and go to the page I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to read this to you, and I've read this on the air, but there is a part of me that still hangs on to the religions of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll read it anyway, but it resonates. It's Canon 52. In the name of creation, the wise, the righteous, praise be to creation, in which there is allness. And it speaks to the prophet, and it uses the word God there, which probably should be translated Ishwish and creation.
Mm-hmm.
And that the human understands the truth and knows the difference between God, or the King of Wisdom, the Ishwish, and creation. Thus may the world be directed to the human of earth. In the name of creation, the wise, the righteous, in that he knows the truth and the path of life and adapts. The gods of the earth were human beings. They came from the depths of the universe, from foreign systems, galaxies, and worlds. They elevated themselves on the earth unrightfully above the humans, named themselves God the Creator. They created sects and religions, and that the earth human may be dependent and faithful to them. And they demanded that the human worship them, the gods, as Creator. Thus the human of earth may be enslaved and be dependent on the gods for all time. And each god created a separate religion and set himself as Creator above the humans, who faithfully became slaves to him. And many of the gods were degenerated and malicious, obsessed by greed for power and all evil, that declared the laws of death, punishment, and destruction, and they murdered as their mood for it. Isn't that a...
That says it all right there.
Yeah. Oh, no, I guess I'm going to do a little blasphemy. That's the problem. Today, we have to have such a mindset change on this planet to really understand what the universe is all about. And if we don't have this mindset change, that we're going to destroy ourselves.
It wasn't that long ago, Mark, that I was sitting in a pew in church, with my hands together praying to God. I'm not so far removed from that either, but now that I'm, I feel like I've had an awakening, if you want to call it that. The perspective that I have now, I feel, and then just after you just read that, it all makes so much sense. But it just proves how naive we all are,
I know.
We're so easily led astray, but the thing is our egos are so big, we all get so carried away with, like, don't you tell me how, I think you know what I'm getting at there.
I do, yeah.
But then fear sets in too. It's like, people want to believe in something, and the thing is that it's all a crock of lies. We've been led astray for so long, and I think this is us, clawing our way back here, and it's important that people like yourself. It's fantastic that you've set this platform up, and long may it last.
Let me read this other passage here, and I think this also comes from the OM, and you can probably find what I'm going to read now up on the Future of Mankind site, and I recommend people Google the Future of Mankind site, and you'll find it. It's where all the contact notes are, and plus some of Billy's other writings, like bits and pieces of the OM, bits and pieces of the Psyche, bits and pieces of the Meier thoughts. But anyway, that's www.futureofmankind.co.uk. But if you Google Future Mankind, you'll find it. Anyway, let me read this. It says, genuine love is a wellspring of eternal constancy, which is absolutely independent of the human being's age, appearance, and personality. And then it talks about emotion-based love. Therefore, emotion-based love, the false form of love, is subject to enormous fluctuations in intensity, can thus suffer changes, and can even transform into rage and hatred. Now, that's the love that's very destructive, and that's not the love that creation radiates. So let me read the kind of love that the superintelligence which created everything has. It says, the more the monstrous, i.e. enormous power of consciousness grows in him, which he may, through the created knowledge and ability, employs capabilities, therewith he really does open himself for all creational powers that stream into him out of the infinite vastness of the universe as a living current of love. And Billy, as a young boy, would look up at the starry sky at night, in his home there in Niederflachs. And he later would write that I recognized that the light which the stars emitted was a light in the visible spectrum. However, the light of true love remained invisible, creational, and for all great time. So the more I study the Meier material, the more I study and learn about what the creation is, the more I understand that this superintelligence which created our universe is wisdom and love at the same time. And the change that will happen in the next 800 years is that the Earth human will once again be able to recognize the radiating love of creation. And then we'll have reverence for all life, and then we'll fix all of our problems naturally, like the overpopulation and the destruction of our environment, and all the difficulties that are in the third millennium that we're facing right now.
Yeah, it's we have a lot of work ahead of us, and one of the things, one of the things that I've started to think about as I've, the more and more I've read and come to understand with the Billy Meier material, the more I've realized that, it's about waking us all up here, and they're bringing this message. They're trying to tell us, look, there's a universal law here. Forget about, this singular God here. There's a universal creational law that all of nature follows, and there's no one material person that has the power to lord over us. This is what it's all about, and as soon as we can grasp that, then, like you said, it may take 800 years, but we'll get there. I think we're on the right track. And one of the things is that with the Billy Meier material, I think it's as people who come across this, maybe atheists or people that aren't, they're not, they don't really like the religions and stuff like that. They might see this at first and think, oh, that's just another, cult, or that's just another religion. So, one of my goals, Mark, is for that not to happen. I want to make this, I don't want people to think that Billy Meier is just another, one of these, false prophets, if you want to call it that, or, but it's all about self-responsibility. It's about, taking the message and putting it into, putting it to work,
So when did you start getting interested in the Meier material? What, 3 or 4 years ago, or was it way before that?
No, it wasn't that long ago. You're talking about early 2013.
Wow, that's really recent.
Yeah, so not that long ago. But the thing is that I came in I was born into a family that was open-minded. My parents weren't religious, although being from the north of Ireland, you're either Catholic or Protestant. So you come into that environment, although people are what you might call cafeteria. Those people a lot of them are cafeteria Christians, but so I was always, I had, parents that didn't direct me so much towards one way or the other. They let me make up my own mind. But I had family and friends around me that, were religious. So I kind of, for a time, steered toward, going to church and that. But I was always searching for the truth, if you know what I mean. And
sure,
it was, it wasn't giving me that food that I was, if I could say it that way. I wasn't getting that, I wasn't growing enough spiritually, and that's, I've always been in touch with my spiritual self. I like meditation and all these different things. But in 2013, it was like I just, something just like clicked, I don't know what it was. I came across the Billy Meier material after hearing Michael Horn, and it may have been one of your interviews, actually. I'm not sure, but that's when it all started for me, and I've been on the path ever since.
And when did you get here from? Did you say Ireland?
Yeah, I'm from Derry, the north of Ireland. I arrived here in 2014. Or sorry, 2014, 2004. I arrived here. That was 2004. So that was 10 years ago now.
Oh wow, that's pretty recent.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Now, are you, now that I'm thinking of it, have you already gone to that meeting in Canada?
No, that's coming up next week.
Next weekend.
Yeah, the president of FIGU is going to be coming out to do a talk. So if anybody is interested, you might want to go on to FIGU Canada and get in touch with those guys as soon as possible, because the spaces are filling up. It'll be a great opportunity for anybody who wants to go up there and, just to get to know a little bit more about what this is all about, you know.
Well, you'll definitely have to come back on the show and tell us about that. I hope they speak in English.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any trouble of you know, I don't think we'll have any problems there. I think it'll be all in English. You know, I think they encourage people to learn German, but this is open to the public, this event, so they're trying to drum up some more interest, so I'm sure it'll be in English.
It's amazing how much the German language is emphasized by the people in the Meier group, and I'm more and more impressed by that. And I've been learning German piecemeal, you know, through all of these different terms like Weissenheiten and Weisen and Empfinden and words like that. And that, you know, it's interesting that a little word like that can represent a whole big concept.
Can you describe any of those words, Mark?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the words I like is Empfinden in the German, which refers to having a fine, sensitive feeling, and I think Empfinden refers to being able to sense that radiating love of creation. I don't think everyone can anymore. I think we're so dulled by this world that we live in. You know, Billy...
I'm feeling it tonight.
Say that again?
I said I'm feeling it tonight.
It's getting late. We'll have to close this pretty soon. The other interesting... Oh, there's so many words like Gemüt. We talked about that a little bit. That the spiritual side, you know, we have a physical body, we have a spiritual body,
yeah.
And the counterpart of the psyche is the Gemüt. The Gemüt is in the spirit body. The Gemüt only responds to neutral positive thinking, and the Gemüt supplies the psyche with those psychic swinging waves that come from that realm of electromagnetic life energy. And you know, Billy always talks about nature and how it's so connected and how there's psychic swinging waves. And I think when we go out into the forest, that's what we see in action. We see, when you hear the crickets and the cicadas and the birds and all those different Weisen and Weisenheiten communicate with one another, you're seeing the indissoluble web of life in action. And you're seeing those psychic swinging waves. I think even the lower animals have that same psychic swinging wave and that same connection to creation. And that's why the birds move in flocks, and they can turn on a dime as a unit. And if we were connected to all of nature that way, we would stop destroying our forests. We would stop overpopulating the planet, and the whole ecosystem would calm down, and we would have probably like a paradise here on our Earth. Yeah. And just those little concepts are the key.
Yeah. And that's, you know, it's so profound what you're talking about, but yet it just, you know, it goes over a lot of people's heads. It's just like, you know, people don't get it, and it seems like you're grasping it, and I'm only beginning to start to, you know, grasp that it's not, you know, it's not that easy to understand because we've been so detached from that, you know.
That's
come home and we turn on the TV and you know, we're just bombarded with this crap, you know. But I mean, one of the things that I want to do more, I've got two daughters, and you know, I want to bring them camping more. I want to bring them outside, bring them out into nature, and get them to open their eyes and start to listen and all, you know, listen to all these different things, because that's what it's all about, you know, working in the garden and you know, being one with nature, you know. You know, and that's what I love the stories of the Indians and stuff. My father used to read me books about the Indians when I was young, you know.
Really?
And I always loved those stories, you know, because they were attached to nature, and you know, they were just just exactly what you described there. It's we need to get back to nature.
You moved pretty far outside of Chicago to get away from the hustle and bustle, didn't you?
Yeah, I need that. You're just when you're entrenched, and I work in the city like yourself, and it becomes you need that getaway. So this is I live about an hour outside of Chicago, and I'm actually talking about going a little bit further out to get a little bit more land, a little bit more peace and quiet.
Isn't the Chicago traffic just crazy?
It is, and I'm lucky enough that I don't get affected too much by it because I work on a shift that it's off hours, but yeah, you wouldn't want to be going down there at 7 o'clock in the morning or coming home at 2 or 3 in the evening.
Yeah, it's basically if you're there at rush hour, it's like 7 lanes going in one direction or something in some places. Is that true?
It's I would say it's probably about 5 anyway.
5? Goodness.
They're talking about expanding that.
Does that strike you as insane, what we're doing with our cities?
Yeah, it's all insane. not just what they're doing with their cities. The more I open my eyes, Mark, the more I start to realize that it's all insane. The only, but definitely insane. It's like you're making these roads. I listened to this guy actually. It's funny you're saying that. I was trying to think where I'd heard this discussion, and I was driving to work actually early last week or the week before, and there's a program that's on probably about 5 in the morning. It's really, really early, but this guy is he talks a lot about, he's a nature man. He likes anything to do with nature, and he talks about subjects that wouldn't be, the most popular, but I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. So he was talking about them expanding the expressway or extending one of the expressways. I think it was 53. They're extending that expressway here in Chicago, and just all of the nature that's going to affect, and all of the people's lives that's going to affect just by extending that. And then the other thing is that when they do this, there's no logic and there's no planning. They say that they plan these things out, but they never do.
Really?
There's always problems, and there's a backlash. But I guess it keeps people busy, keeps people working.
While I'm thinking of it, Dubhaltagh, I'm so glad you're bringing it up because I have these same thoughts all the time. The craziness. Columbus isn't as bad, but as you're seeing these cities expand, it's the same thing. I just get filled with a sense of dread. That's the only way I can describe it. But I want to make sure we talk about the show Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so why don't you tell everyone about the special guest? And he's a professor, right? Yeah,
so on Sunday we're going to have Raul Zahi.
Raul Zahi, is that how you say his name?
I believe that's how it's pronounced. And he's going to be joining us to talk about the new analysis that he done in 2013. In March 2013, Raul did an in-depth analysis into the famous wedding cake UFO photographs of Billy Meier.
Have you seen the wedding cake film?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh man, you got to see that online. See, you got to see this thing hovering, this wedding cake hovering right beside this tree. And you can see Billy kind of walk into the picture and walk out of the picture. It is so surreal. Mm-hmm. It is just awesome. You have to check it out.
I'll have to check it out for sure. But that's going to be a great show, and I appreciate you for giving
And why don't you tell the listeners about your website, because you're building a whole website that's going to deal with the Meier material. Are you going to cover other things beside the Meier material?
Yeah, it's a bit early on. I'm still developing it. I'm working with a couple of people right now. You know, we're all busy with our own daily lives and stuff, so we try to work on it as much as we can. But I just launched. It's in development, so it's probably, you know, there's really nothing on there at the moment. We're tinkering with it,
okay.
But it's called Document Truth, and basically the goal is, you know, to talk about all these issues that we have and that we're facing, and you know, so I work at a university accommodation, okay, and I'm surrounded by students on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
I find out that they're, you know, I've bumped into these students. They're filmmakers, and every semester they have to make these documentaries for their class assignments.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, wouldn't it be a great idea if we could host documentary competitions and, you know, kind of guide the topics a little to complement the Billy Meier material.
Mm-hmm. So,
for instance, you have overpopulation.
Oh, yeah.
Then one of the issues that Michael Horn talks about now and again is the, you know, the fracking, you know, and the alternatives to that, the alternative energy. So the alternative energy would be the geothermal, the deep, you know, so you could encourage these kids to make these documentaries, stuff that would complement the Billy Meier material, you know, and then it's not necessarily forcing the Billy Meier material onto anybody, but
right.
But they're talking about these issues that Billy Meier and the play Aaron would say that are our biggest issues, you know. And if we can do that, then that's half the battle. But I will have a section on there that will be featured as a Billy Meier section. So, you know, people are coming on there to get their daily news and articles, and if they come across the Billy Meier material, then that's a bonus, you know.
Excellent.
So that was a bit long-winded there. But
no, that was perfect. I appreciate that. So I guess we'll chat again soon. Yeah. 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday then.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thanks, Dubhaltagh. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you then. Bye.
Bye.